So everybody wants that one magical number, that number that says, how much does it cost to travel Australia per day or per week? And anything you find out there on the internet, it's not going to be your number. So I'm going to help you try and work out what your particular number will be, so you can then start budgeting, so you can start planning this most amazing trip around Australia. So hi, I'm Margie, and I have travelled Australia many times, both by myself with my family, and I've also helped many family, friends, and lots of people work out this planning side of their big lap. So I'm going to be sharing with you today 5 things that can help work out your specific number so you can start budgeting and getting ready for your big lap. So let's jump straight into it. Okay, so let's start by having a chat about these 3 daily levers. So these things that are going to consume the majority of your budget, and they would be fuel, accommodation, and food. Now, fuel does not come at a surprise to anyone, I'm sure. I mean, you've all seen that the prices of fuel at the moment, they're absolutely ridiculous. That's a story for another day. But there is something we can do about fuel, which means you can still go out there, you can still enjoy, you can still explore Australia. It just might mean that you need to keep it a little bit closer to your home state, for example. So once you've got your budget sorted, you can then tweak that fuel bill to work out the distance that you're going to take. So just keep that in mind. So don't get disheartened by it. If it is looking horrendous, your fuel bill, just work out a few less kilometres and find some amazing accommodation around there. Talking about that accommodation, now there are 2 stories with this one. Firstly, do you go caravan parks? Or do you go free, off-grid, or low-cost campsites such as those community-run ones? And this is something that you are going to have a chat with your other travel partner if there's more than one adult going. Otherwise, have a think about it yourself. Are you going for a full, all-out expenses, everything, all the works holiday? Or are you going for a lifestyle change that needs to be sustainable? Once you've got this sorted, then you can work out, can I afford those wonderful big 4 caravan parks that are $1 bazillion a night, but it's got all the amenities you could ever want? Or do you need to work out how to do a few more off-grid, out-of-the-way free campsites? Or do you do a mix of both? Now, my story is we normally like doing around about a week off-grid. That seems to be our happy spot. And then we jump into a caravan park midweek. So there's a tip for you. If you go midweek, it saves so much money. Also see if you can look out for those, buy 2 nights for the 3rd night's free. Sometimes, like if you keep having a bit of a look, you can find some of those deals. So anyway, 3 nights in a caravan park, and then back off wild camping, free camping, whatever you want to call it. But we found that is a good mix for us. Food. Food is the other one that sometimes captures a lot of people out. Now, food is something that, well, you need to buy it regardless if you're home or you're traveling, you need to go and buy it. The more remote you get, typically it's a lot more expensive, and typically you don't get such of the range that you would going down to your local Woolies. So do consider food is going to be a sneaky factor. There is also a couple of hidden costs in there, which I'll get into in a moment. So food can be a bit of a sneaky one that can jump up on a lot of people. And basically, have a think about it. When you're at home, do you like cooking? Or do you like eating out a lot, or the Uber Eats? Now, when you're on the road, that's not going to really change. If you enjoy your going out or your Uber Eats and that sort of stuff, okay, maybe you won't be able to get Uber Eats to the middle of nowhere, but that same mentality will probably exist unless you're really got that mindset that is going to go, no, I am going to try and budget a lot more. So just have a think of how do you normally go about your food bill at the moment, and carry that across to caravanning and your big lap. And that will also determine to help you think, is it something that you want to continue with, or do you need to pull the reins in and budget accordingly for it? So food is a really, really sneaky one because all those restaurants, they all do add up. The other one that really catches people out are those coffees. So $5 here or there might not seem much, but $5 plus probably a sneaky cake or 2, times by 2, there's, 2 adults there, plus something the kids might want. You can see how quickly it adds up. Even if you only spend $5 a day, over the course of a year, that's a lot of $5. So just something else to keep in your mind there. So now we talked about this one. Your number is going to shift and you're going to have to make a decision. Are you going on a budget holiday? Are you going on that sort of middle of the range one? Or are you going more of a comfort, all expenses, doesn't matter, just go and have the time of your life, really? Once you've worked that out, then you can nut down what it is that you're going to work towards. So make sure that if there's more than one adult going on this trip, everyone's on the same page. And do this before you leave and you'll find it so much easier. Now, I did overestimate our budget to start with on our last big lap, which we did about 11 months on the road. And look, I got to say that this is rare. Most people that I speak to, they underestimate their budget, but we overestimated it because we had to slow down our travel massively to suit our kids. So it's uncommon for this, but I just wanted to show you and put it in there just to show you that you need to be flexible with your planning. We did plan for sort of more the moderate travel and, getting to more places, seeing a few more things, but we actually ended up slowing our travel down, by half and then half again, and it did a lot more of the free camps, stayed in one spot for a lot longer, and therefore our budget then showed that. So the number that we had, we spent on average about $100 a day over the course of 11 months. So that was our rough number. Now, of course, there were some weeks that it was up in the $2,000 mark. There were some weeks we would have spent $100 or $200. If you don't travel, you're not going to use any fuel. If you've already bought all your groceries, well, you're not going to spend any money on food that particular week. So it really does fluctuate, but you need to find that average. If you plan some flexibility into your savings, that is always a good thing. So if you can plan, and especially the emergency fund, which I'll get to in a moment also, but be aware that your numbers will go up and down on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Most families we have found do shift from that sort of budget range into more of mid-range once they do hit the road, once they go on their trip, because they've worked out that, hang on a second, budget's all well and good and I'm going to free camp it everywhere, but then they might go, you know what, I just really want to go into a caravan park to have a decent shower, to use a full kitchen, etc. So be aware that it is flexible, but you need to budget a starting point, and this is what we're here to help you with today. So number 3, these sneaky costs, these are the ones that just catch everybody out. So, as I said, $5 per coffee, that adds up to a ridiculous amount per year. So it's absolutely crazy. But when you stop to think about it, how many of these little costs all add up? Here's one for you. This is what we found, the laundry. So most caravans, when I say most, there's a lot of caravans these days that actually do have washing machines on board, which are a bit of a luxury item. But a lot of people still use laundromat and also the laundries at caravan parks. Now, heads up, if you've never noticed before, you actually have to pay for those laundries, the washing machine and the dryer at the caravan park. So just because you get into the caravan park, you still have to pay for those facilities. I think everywhere. I can't think of any spot that we've been to ever that caravan park has had free washing and drying machines. So just consider that one. Now, it's about $4 or so per wash, give or take. Like, everything's always different. But the dryers, this is the one that caught me out a lot. It could cost $15, $20, sometimes more dollars per drying cycle, because, look, honestly, they were pretty useless. Once you put your clothes in there, look, there's normally the big commercial ones, but I don't know what it is. They just sort of made your clothes lukewarm, still damp. So just that was one of the things that really caught us out. And we've got a couple of kids that love the mud and everything, so we did find a lot of laundromats and washing machines. Caravan parks aren't too bad because you can then hang your stuff out onto clotheslines most of the time. But if you're in a hurry and you're going through town, you need to use the dryer, and it's they add up real quick. So ice creams, bakery stops, look, obviously that adds up. And one family coffee stop per day, here we go, adds up to over $2,000 per year. Now, if you don't budget for your little $5 plus your cake plus an ice cream, it's going to add up and you're going to go, what's just happened? You'll also find that temptation to eat out more on the road catches up with families who did budget a lot more based on home cooking habits. So, you know, it's all there, and especially at caravan parks, and they got the pizza night or this, and they're going, you know what, we're here, we're on our holidays, and it's those sorts of thought processes that can also blow out the budget. So, and that's completely cool. As long as you've got the budget to be able to blow out, and as long as you're doing it all mindfully and knowing that's what you're doing. So I do have a budget guide. I'll put a link in the description somewhere here. And if you'd like it, it's a spreadsheet that I've designed that just self-populate, and it helps you calculate all this sort of stuff, including the fuel. So it helps work out your cost per 100 Ks, and it talks you through all that. So if you're interested in that, I will leave a link in the description if it helps you guys out. But here we go. So the takeaway on this one: the small daily spends are invisible until you actually track them. Those coffee, laundry, those little just the incidental type things, they add up. It's ridiculous. All right, so here's one thing that unfortunately I'm going to have to tell everyone. When you're traveling on the road, life back home does not stop. So what I mean by that is you will still have, like say your health insurance. If you decide to keep that one going, and I'll leave that up to you, we do have it. Ambulance cover. Now, ambulance cover, have a look on your policy. If you do have an ambulance cover, it's very likely state only. So you will need to upgrade that to Australia-wide, just in case you do actually need it. You might be surprised to find that it's only covered in your home state. So just check that one out there. Anyway, that aside, you'll still have, if you have a house, you'll probably have a mortgage, which means you probably still have council rates and insurance. If you decide to rent it out, you'll probably have like rental management fees, and you'll have probably landlord's insurance. So they add up too, because that sort of insurance is a lot more than just when you're home in your own house. So be aware of that sneaky cost there. Starlink. Now, you'll probably have internet already at home. If you transfer to Starlink, which is what we do every time we travel, Starlink is awesome because it still allows me to work on the road. It allows us to homeschool the kids. However, it is ridiculously expensive. They just put the cost up again in the last week or so. So it's one of those necessities that we couldn't do what we do without it. So you have to factor it in. It's up to you whether you do keep Starlink or whether you use, there's a couple of other options out there at the moment, but Starlink by far is the best one we found for coverage. Now, storage fees. What are you going to do with all your stuff? So if you do decide to rent out your house, a couple of options there, and I'll do a couple of videos on this down the road, but what we normally do is we put all of our stuff into one room, lock that room, and then we rent out our house minus one bedroom. So obviously we don't get as much money in rent, but we also don't have to move our stuff somewhere else and then pay for a storage place. So it's something to consider, but storage fees are ridiculous. Like, you budget for them. It's lots. Have a look into it and just calculate for it if you need to do that. Phone bills. I run an Optus. No, I have Telstra phone. Tim has Optus. We decided to keep it that way for the best coverage. And yes, there are many times that I'll have coverage and he doesn't, or vice versa. So phones, you still need to have all of those sorts of cost subscriptions. If you have any apps or anything you use, they all come with you, unfortunately, with the cost. So factor them into your budget. So the last one I want to talk to you about too, which again, I'll have a look down the track and do a full video on it. So do subscribe. And if you would like to hear about this, and that is to do with your van setup. If you have bought your van and it's beautiful and sparkly and new, and it's got a beautiful and sparkly new loan attached to it, you will have to pay it off as you travel. So just consider that one too. You'll need to add it all in. So set your daily number first, and then you can work back to your savings goal. So this is where, if you guess a savings goal and you just hope, you you might get lucky, but it's always nice to know that your money's going to last the distance. Start with an honest daily number based on your actual travel style, and then you can multiply that up to weekly, monthly, annually, whatever it is that you can work out in your head better, and then you've got your amount that you have to save for. So like I said, we averaged about $400 per week, $700 per week, which is about $100 per day, but from week to week, it fluctuated hugely. So keep that in mind too. So basically, you got your fixed costs, which are your back home stuff and things that are going to be happening monthly. You got your accommodation, food, fuel, and activities. Plus, I always say about a 10% buffer. That gives you sort of a nice round ballpark figure for your daily number. We've also found by talking to a lot of our friends and family that this is a bit of an underestimate. By about 20 to 30% is typically what we found. But if you have factored in a lot of your back home costs and those sneaky spends, so if you like your $5 coffee per day, awesome, budget for it and make sure you put it in with your calculations. So calculate what it is. And then the last thing on top of all of this is have an emergency fund or a way to access emergency money. Now, that is going to be a figure that's going to be independent of this, and you have to sit down and work out what is going to be your comfortable emergency number. So, such as what happens if the van breaks down or the car breaks down? What happens if you have an unexpected health issue? Anything like that, you might have to get back home quickly, and so therefore you might have to fly. So just within yourself, have a think, what would you be comfortable with your emergency buffer, just in case? And it's always nice, or as long as you have access to, say, an offset account or something like that, for the just in case moment. So have a think about all of this, and then you can factor that in. Do you save for that before you go or not? So there you have it. So you've got 5 things here to have a think about to build up your budget. So then you can start saving and you can work towards how much you got to put away before your departure date. Now, as I said, I've got a budget calculator to help with that, and also to help with that calculation before your departure date. And you can actually see it, it can tick it all off. And so you can see how you go about saving that money before you go. So that's a really cool feature there. So I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested about that. If you want to see my lovely presentation here, then jump into my school community. I'll link that too below. And that's all about pre-planning for your caravan departure, and also a lot of caravan maintenance stuff. Tim is awesome with all of his knowledge with caravanning, and he's got a lot of background in that sort of field there. So jump into our school. It's a free account, and where you can see a whole lot of these sorts of trainings and ask any questions you would like, because I'm trying to show that I'm a real person and combating the world of this wonderful AI stuff, which is fantastic. But no, I'm real, I'm Margie, and I'll see you inside a school. So make sure you subscribe and enjoy your pre-planning. How exciting.